Living with a chronic disease does not have to be a death sentence. So, obviously, living with the ileostomy doesn't have to be a death sentence either. Now, I can imagine what you're thinking. Who? What? Ileostomy. It's real simple. It's a funny sounding word. It's pretty complicated, but the point is, it doesn't mean life is over. It's really just the beginning. It's just living life in a modified way. Now, at the age of 28, according to the National Institute of Health, the top three things a person should be concerned about as far as causes of death would be accident, heart attack, or homicide. So when I was 28, an ileostomy was like the furthest thing from my mind. Quite frankly, I never even heard of the word before. Didn't know what it was. And so it definitely took me by surprise. Now, I had had problems with my health all my life, started as a young child from the age of 2 on. Something that was so routine and simple for most people, for some reason, was very, very difficult for my body to be able to do. Something as simple as going to the bathroom. Like, how hard should that be? But for me, it was very tough. Throughout my childhood, I actually would only go like once every 2 to 3 months. Yeah, that it was not a good situation. Obviously, my health was very delicate. I was in and out of hospitals. I was born in Baltimore, lived in Maryland most of my childhood. So I had seen many of the specialists in the Baltimore, Washington area, and they all did their best to diagnose me and figure out exactly what needed to be done to get my health on a better track. But nothing really, really seemed to work. Quite frankly, my parents were told that it'd be a miracle if I could make it to the age of 16. That's how chronic my situation was. But miracles still happen. I'm still here, and clearly I'm beyond, a little bit beyond the age of 16. I can even remember quite vividly a situation when I was in like fourth or fifth grade, and I remember my entire intestinal tract was full of bowel. I needed to go to the bathroom, and you actually have 35 feet of intestines in your body. That's 35 feet of bowel in my body at one time that my body could not seem to get rid of. And the situation was so grim that time that the doctors actually made the decision to transport me by ambulance to a nearby hospital in DC to see a renowned specialist in the area to try to get some help because it was that bad. My doctor, my pediatrician, requested one more set of x-rays so that I could take it along with me and told my mother to pack my things in my hospital room so that, we can be ready for transport. I went down for the x-rays. Results came back. My doctor came to my room and he told my mother he didn't know how to explain it. All he could say was that it was a miracle. Do you know those x-rays came back clear? 35 feet of bowel, gone. Just like that. God is good. Miracles do happen. So there have been great steps that have happened along the way. However, my health still continued to take dips and turns along the course of my life. My risk of dying, obviously, very, very high. My risk of getting infection, obviously, very, very high. And just living daily life with all of that bowel was really, really difficult. My energy level was low. We were running out of more doctors to send me to. It was just a very, very tough situation. But I still kept pushing, still did the best I could every single day, regardless. Actually, my situation came to a pretty grim point at the age of 28. I was having another medical crisis, was transported to the hospital via ambulance. And at that point, my body was trying to get rid of the waste and it was coming out in a larger size than normal. Please excuse me, but it was approximately the width of a grapefruit. It was traumatic, extremely painful. I got to the emergency room. They didn't know what to do with me. They had never seen anyone in that situation before. And they actually discharged me several hours later, told me to follow up with a specialist. And you know, it took 3 days for me to get rid, for that situation to resolve itself. 3 days in severe pain that way. But I promised myself at that point that if I could get through that, I'll do anything. I just needed relief and a permanent solution to the problem. I was very thankful to be able to get connected with a research doctor from Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore City, one of the country's leading hospitals. And after 10 months of testing, it was concluded that I actually had a birth defect called Hirschsprung's disease. It's a disease where the nerve endings in your body never develop in your intestines. Therefore, my body couldn't feel the waste in there, so therefore it couldn't push it along. It just stayed in there. The odds of it getting better, nil. It was never going to resolve itself. The only solution was actually to take it out. So the doctors determined that all of my large intestines needed to be removed, my colon, and part of my small intestines. So they took all of that out, cut a hole in my right side, pulled the end of my small intestines through that hole, stitched it shut, and then I have medical bags or supplies that I have to wear. And my waste drains into a bag 24 hours a day. I have to empty it approximately every 2 to 3 hours, 24 hours a day. I have not slept a full night through since 1999 because I constantly have to get up to take care of my medical condition. It seems tough. I do lose a lot of sleep. There are a lot of foods I can no longer eat. There are a lot of foods that are actually your body normally breaks down in your large intestines. You know, like your beans, your high fibrous foods, your fruits with skin on them, nuts. So unfortunately, I'm not able to eat a lot of those products because they will cause an intestinal blockage. If if I have an intestinal blockage and it goes on for too long, my intestines will burst and I will pass away right away. And so I have to do everything that I can to be able to make sure that the foods I eat and the things I drink are able to pass through my body with as little difficulty as possible. So it's a constant situation that I'm always monitoring. But here's the thing. Just because I have a chronic health condition, it doesn't mean my future is grim. If anything, my chronic health condition actually made me stronger. I actually realized that it doesn't matter what people tell me. All that matters is what's in my head. All that really counts is my positive outlook on life. All that counts is me putting my best foot forward in spite of the situation. Because I had things that I needed to accomplish. I had children I needed to raise. I had goals that I wanted to reach. And so, even though I had a chronic health condition, even though it seemed that the odds were against me, I had to learn to turn those things around so that I can be a conqueror instead of a victim. That's all that I had to do. And that's the same thing that others can do too. I'm not the only person that's ever had this condition. Based on, again, the National Institute of Health, 1 out of 5,000 live births is a baby that has the same condition. The difference is medicine is better now. It's easier to detect it at an earlier age. There are procedures that can be done earlier in life to reverse it. Some are temporary, some permanent. But when it's caught early, survival chances are phenomenal. But I'm still grateful. Do you realize that there are actually people who have been professional athletes with an ileostomy? There's actually a gentleman who was a professional PGA, a professional golf player, won over 11 PGA tournaments. Even President Dwight Eisenhower had an ileostomy. Yes, I know. Crazy. He did. He actually had an intestinal issue. Took place in about his 8th year of presidency. He had surgery and returned back to his daily presidential duties 5 days after surgery. The country didn't even know what was going on. It's phenomenal. So, again, it doesn't matter what life throws at you. All that matters is what you do with it. So, Have you ever known anybody else with ileostomy? Probably not. But that's okay, because you know me. I'm not a victim. I'm a victor. A chronic health condition does not define who I am. All it did was make me stronger. I hope you're ready. You can do it too. Doesn't matter what life throws at you. You can be a victor. All that counts is how you think through it. All that counts is putting your best foot forward and just never giving up.